Dr. Prashant Palikapalli, Dr. Dhaniraj, Dr. K.C. Abraham, Dr. C.B. Sakriyas, Mr. Biju from American Consulate, fellow delegates and participants, teachers of Sacred College, Devara, and my dear students. I'm extremely thankful for the organizers, particularly CPPR, CIASN, and Sacred College, Devara, for inviting me to inaugurate this very important symposium on American presidential elections 2016. It's coincidental that the first debate on the two prominent candidates, Democrats and Republicans, take place on Monday, today, after a few hours, and which will be watched by millions and millions of people in the United States and the rest of the world. It's also interesting to see that the largest democracy in the world attends to and closely listens and watches how the American presidential election takes place and what are its implications and consequences. I remember when in the past very little news has come in local media regarding electoral process and elections. From that time, because that is a time when people like us were interested in American politics, and I was teaching American politics in the comparative politics course for a very, very long time. And I rarely get chances to interact with the public or others to confirm and clarify some of the issues that are being highlighted during the electoral process, beginning from local primaries, district primaries, state primaries, national conventions, and finally the real elections to the Electoral College. But some academics used to discuss things with me, and I remember All India Radio inviting me to give a very clear exposition of what constitutes the Electoral College in the United States and how the American president is elected. This itself has a long history. The original idea was to have a direct elected president, but President George Washington rejected this idea later and believed that such direct election would result in creating demagogues, and that's why an indirectly elected president is the constitutional provision in the United States that has come like that. But ordinary people in different parts of the world may often confuse with popular votes and electoral votes, and also they may ignore that after the formal elections to the Electoral College on November 8th, another formal election takes place by the members of the Electoral College for the real election of the American president, which has very, very little news value. Because on November 8th, it is decided that who will become the president, and seldom we can expect any kind of cross-voting from the members of the Electoral College. Let me start my presentation here. See, we have to first of all address the significance of the presidential elections. Being a presidential system, a very successful presidential system, unlike many other countries where they failed. France, they have failed. Sri Lanka, they have failed. In many European countries, it has failed. Even in Bangladesh and Pakistan, it has failed. The presidential system balances between a nominal head and the real head of the executive. It is clubbed in the same person. He is a ceremonial head, but he is also the de facto head. Yet not becoming a dictator. There is a joke in the past saying that American president and American leadership involves in international affairs too much because he can do very little inside the country, because under the checks and balances system, he is controlled very much by a very powerful Senate, judiciary, and the media. Two unknown journalists were able to create the Watergate scandal, which ultimately removed President Richard Nixon from office. So there are several instances where judiciary put the president into embarrassment, like 1940s, Franklin D. Roosevelt had to face a very negative, dangerous, reactive judiciary which tried to nullify many of his initiatives under the New Deal program. And similarly, the media criticizes him mostly on domestic policies. American media, I'm telling you, criticize him mostly on domestic policies. Foreign policy, at least in the recent past, has not been a very important factor for the American voters. If you go through the American newspaper materials or even other kinds of data, you will find that people are more interested in the economy, domestic economy, taxes, employment, immigration, rather than about the human rights issues elsewhere or the kind of American involvement in global politics, the policeman role that they have played during the Cold War period and the post-Cold War period at a time of unipolarism too. So all these things you will find a variety of differences, and we may think that the American foreign policy directions has been very vital for the public opinion, which is not. But America need to change the foreign policy direction significantly. Already it has started since September 11, 2001, because there has been serious question where the American foreign policy had erred after the September 11, 2001 incident, and particularly after the emergence of a unipolar politics and the subsequent emergence of multilateralism in global politics. American foreign policy debate is catching up, though not very much among the ordinary folk who are concerned about their employment and jobs and taxes. But I'm sure, as Dr. Dhanraj mentioned, foreign policy has to become a very important debate in American, not only in presidential debate, but also among the public. That should come very much. But if you content analyze American newspaper, you will find still a lot of debate being going on what is happening inside United States, what's happening to a great extent in Latin America and South America, and a little bit about Europe. But when it comes to developing countries, not much is being debated or asked. And I remember one incident when in the 2004 elections, the Republican candidate was asked this question about the Prime Minister of India, which he could not mention. So you can understand that how different and why some countries do not matter in the American political landscape. But I'm sure he would have answered who was the president of Pakistan because of the geopolitical consideration. So things are different, as unlike many of us think. And also that the electoral process itself is unique in terms of electoral system. You have two stages. The first stage is the stage of primaries, and which ends up in national conventions, which will take place around 2 years, just half of the presidential term, the next electoral process begin. So for almost 2 years, they will be debating about who should be the candidate. Number of candidates would emerge from both sides, and I must also say there are other candidates from other political parties too, but ultimately once the national convention is settled, the politics is focused on the two major candidates. And also here is a dilemma, because there is, sometimes you will find electoral votes not matching with popular votes. And candidate who wins the largest share of electoral votes, majority of the electoral votes, get elected. But he may not still win the popular votes. This is one dilemma. And there is another dilemma is about that in every state, a particular party wins also seat. How does this happen? Suppose there are 54 seats in California, and if Democrats win 28, the entire California goes to Democratic Party. So that's a winner takes all. This is something very curious that you will find it difficult to digest. So the swing states and the majoritarian states who wins can walk away with a successful presidential race. It may not match with popular votes. As you had seen when Clinton was elected for the first time in 1996, he did not enjoy the popular vote, but he enjoyed a huge majority of the electoral votes. So this kind of confusion and dilemma is also a part of the American process, and it is also reflected with the party system. See, in presidential system, political parties are not that crucial. Political parties are there, but unlike in parliamentary democracies, where party system dominates and plays a very important role in several respects, in presidential system, the party system is highly in a differentiated form. I would say in America it is in a decentralized fashion. It is highly decentralized, and therefore you will find local barons and local candidates coming up very high, very quickly. For example, even the very most popular Bill Clinton, although he was a governor of Arizona, he was not much heard before. And similarly with Barack Obama, he was not heard much before. He was a senator, but he was not heard much before. But quickly he became popular once the race began, particularly the party nominations began. The contest was between Hillary versus Obama. And during that fight, his magical words, "We can change," that appealed to the youth and the large number of voters, and his charisma and also his appeal played a very important role. American party system is considered as a two-party system, but theoretically it is a multi-party system. You have Democrats, you have liberals, you have Republicans, you have nationalists, you have Green Party, you have independents, even socialist parties and communist parties. Several parties are in the fray, but ultimately election becomes a two-plus party system. So beyond Democrats and Republicans, it could be social democrats, it could be liberals, which can play a third-party role. It is ideal to say that it's a two-plus party system. And unlike in parliamentary democracies, ideology is not very crucial in party system. You will find swinging taking place from one side to another. The best example, Senior Bush already declared his support to Hillary. Former president, Republican president, declaring his support to Hillary. So there could be swing and shift of votes. And it based upon the social coalitions that are being made. And these social coalitions are mostly in terms of economic matters, policy-oriented issues, and some related to immigration, ethnic aspects, etc. And therefore, party leadership swings across the coalitions that are likely to dominate this scenario, and as a result of which, there is no hardcore Democrats and hardcore Republicans. Now, there can be counter-argument to this. Some say that some are Democrats for life and some are Democrats for Republicans for life. But I still remember one of the political science question paper which we had to face in the MA political science course, that the two candidates of American presidential race are like two bottles of wine with the different labels but the same content, So the ideological differences are very less, but differences are based on policy matters. So policy matters matter more, and therefore the policy issues are to be properly turned up. That's a very good thing in United States presidential poll and also in the congressional poll, but more on presidential poll because large number of voters poll. But can you imagine the average voting percentage? It is much, much less compared to India. At the most 55%. India had crossed 64% on an average. Kerala would touch 80% plus. So I asked this question to many American political scientists. Why there is less polling? In congressional elections, it will be 35, 36, 38%. How can you call it a strong democracy? The answer was very interesting. He said, we don't have much pressing issues, and therefore there is not much need to march towards the electoral polling stations and join the electoral fray. And as a result of which, you'll find only in presidential race it crosses 54% or 55%. And this time also, I don't think it will touch anywhere near 60%. Despite the political mobilization propaganda that is being made, the poll turnout is very less. But that doesn't mean that they are least interested in politics. You ask an average American about public policy matters, they'll be very interested to answer this question. Very clear, but don't ask them international questions. Ask them domestic questions. They'll be very, very clear. And they have a national perspective too on that matter. But they don't have that international perspective. I have cross-checked with many Americans on this issue. During my travels, during my fellowships, I have asked this question many times. And I have understood that even an average American follows policy issues, whether be at the city level, district level, or at the state level or the national level, they are very clear on it. So whether it is health, social security, healthcare, social security, education, whatever it is. So the ideas are being highlighted. So how Obama was able to address the inflation and the economic crisis of 2008. So the stimulus package became a very big debate in America. So average American is politically aware, but that doesn't motivate him to go to the polling station. Here it is the other way. Whether we are motivated or not, we vote sometimes with a vengeance or sometimes with a emotion. And that passionate factor is missing in the politics of the United States. This I could say. Father Prashant was very right in saying that they don't have any problem on the election day, any stranger entering into electoral polling station. I have done that. And they said, you can do anything inside except voting. This is what they said. So I clicked for pictures of the American voting. I went close to the polling booth, inside the polling booth, where a lot of voters are voting, and they don't have any problem. And the polling stations are just like, small places, not like the big things that are being arranged. And early birds to polling stations are old people, and not always the youth voters, unlike you find here. Because the old people are more concerned about healthcare, social security, so they march to elections much more. And ordinary youth are not that much interested, because it is not even a holiday, it's a working day. So how do they get time to go for polling? So it's very interesting to see this kind of politics being taking place. Now I quickly come to the issue, why presidential elections are crucial. I have not started in 2016, but still I am giving the background. I will have 3 points here. Presidential polls are very crucial because of the position of the United States in the world. Very crucial because since 1945 it has become extremely crucial. And after 1991, with the decline of Cold War and the emergence of unipolar world, America began to dominate in global politics much, much more than anything else. And President Bush was even called King George Bush after the disintegration of Soviet Union, and therefore American leadership at the global level is very important, and the international media gives a lot of importance to the American presidential election, and therefore American people must also be aware of this crucial significance. And you have to see that at many times the world missed from a nuclear outrage, as you have seen in the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962, and subsequently on many, many occasions when on Vietnam crisis. And on many of the international stage, when Soviet Union and United States went face to face, or United States and China came very close to that, a kind of an international conflict. So who becomes American president is very, very crucial. And I would say, doubly say this is very important because the polarized elections of 2016 between Trump and Hillary. Who becomes American president is very crucial. There is even a sub-branch in political science called biopolitics. And this biopolitics addresses the background, the kind of education, the training, the temperament of the candidate. And many students in political science have done studies on biopolitics, looking at the background of the presidential candidate. What temperament, from where he has hailed, from his education, his temperament, his instinct, all these are very crucial because a wrong signal can destroy the world. And that is where candidates have to be extremely crucial. They have to be advised by the Cabinet and National Security Council and other important agencies, but definitely the temperament is very important. The health is also important. That's what Trump is trying to argue, that Hillary is not healthy. So, because the candidate becomes the president means he's become president for 4 years. And as you know, if he or she dies in office, the vice president automatically step in. So that always takes place. Even if the president is impeached, automatically the vice president step in. And who becomes the vice president or the running mate is also important. And therefore the health of the candidate is very crucial. I would say not only the health, the instinct, the temperament, all these things are very important. And if properly advised, I think things can improve. I'm not sure about everybody, but definitely Barack Obama has been a great surprise. I never expected in my life to see an Afro-American becoming the president of the United States. But how politics changed in the United States and how the majority of whites also voted, despite the attempts to make a polarization against Obama, despite his having ancestral background from a Muslim family. All these things did not work to the American politics and American voters, and he became the darling of the masses and got elected not once but twice. So it all depends, and his temperament also is very crucial, and how he still becomes popular. I suspect he's still popular than Hillary, more popular than Hillary. And had there been a tenure for a third term, which was blocked after the Franklin Roosevelt incident, the 22nd Amendment, I'm sure he will go for a third term. The same would have been the case with Clinton also, Bill Clinton also. They were so popular when they demitted their office. But that doesn't mean that this can support Hillary to get an easy victory. So the position is very important. Second point is powers and function of the American president within the framework of checks and balance. That also is very important. You may think that he is a very dictator, but not he is, really not so. He is checked. He is checked even by the governors. He is checked definitely by the Senate. He is checked by the American Congress, checked by the judiciary in several respects. And since the judges are appointed for life, they don't have a problem. So they can invalidate any of the presidential action. By the stroke of a pen, the judiciary can invalidate the presidential action. So the checks and balances are extremely crucial, that American presidential powers and the constitutional system provide sufficient maneuvering for the president. For example, he can send army anywhere, even without a formal consent of the American Senate. But a formal declaration of a war requires the consent of the Senate. The Senate can cut the strings, the purse, and restrict the American war. So executive powers are also checked. So in several respects you will find constraints on the American president, but still his role is developing, emerging. It is not just like a legal box where you find this side or that side. It also depends upon the personality. And some of us studied that the same president has two dimensions: internal president and external president. So what Barack Obama was internal, and what Barack Obama at the international level. You have seen a Nobel Prize coming to Barack Obama even before he completed 2 years of service in office. That is a surprise to many of us, and because he had to justify his role in peacekeeping because of the prize awarded to him. And some of us debated this issue in the television channels also. It is almost like an athlete winning the race even before he started the race. But now he had justified how this can be. So this is very interesting. And the third aspect is domestic issues and policy option. He has to face with several domestic policies and domestic issues. It is not just international, domestic policies. And these domestic issues and policies are varied because of the typical American federal character. States are very powerful. Some of the states' economy is very, very powerful. And some of the poor states also has problems. So how he manages to deal with that, and also how the local issues can come in the way. So being a federal system, being a decentralized system, all the regions are equally important. Say whether it is a school district or hospital district, they have their own governance. City mayors are also powerful. It is not just American president being powerful. Everybody is powerful. And that way it is a diffused kind of what Robert Dahl once mentioned. It is polyarchy, not pluralism. Power is differentiated and diffused. Pluralism is a situation where you can have different occasions and different dimensions, but still there can be a kind of authority in a pluralist system. India is a pluralist system. But we have a very powerful prime minister. But in America, it is not like that. It is a polyarchy, which means every organization is powerful, be at the local level, or even at the trade union level, or at the business level, even the multinational corporations. The states which are having allies and treaties with Japan and other countries, they do have treaties with the European Union. So in many ways, American president can be outsmarted by American states itself, American districts and local governance. So all these matters raise policy issues, and how to provide a national perspective is very challenging. And that is where policies like Medicare, stimulus package, health plan, Obamacare policies, that becomes a national option. Now this has been an interesting debate in American president because of the centripetal and centrifugal tendencies operating in the American politics. So with this background, let me come to the 2016 scenario. What are the features of the electoral politics today? What we witnessed during the last 1.5 to 2 years. Now confusion emerged with the two major candidates in the early and later stages. Who will become the candidate? There are so many who contested. And within the Democratic Party, there were many rivals to Hillary. And within the Republican Party, there were many rivals to the Republican Party as well. And this kind of conflict, at a time we thought that Hillary's prospects would be totally destroyed because of the rivals within her own party. And similarly for Republicans. But Republicans had a little advantage in this sense because Trump was focusing on polarizing the issue. And this was unheard in American history. Polarized the voters from the very beginning. He took up issues of neoliberalism. He took up issues on right-wing conservatism. Post-2008 economic crisis, Wall Street crisis, illegal immigration, which was quite at heart to Trump, attacking illegal immigration, race relation, definitely attitude towards terrorism, attitude towards environment, which was not pro-environmental anyway, job creation, global economy, Israel, and today morning also, yesterday also he mentioned that if he comes to power, he will declare Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Again, another international issue. And then on the question of appointing judges. So in all these things, he resorted to a complete right-wing conservative approach. Even during the 2004 Bush's election, we will not have this kind of a right-wing Republicans. It consisted of a little bit of religious aspect and also right-wing conservative attitude. And this pushed Hillary on the other side. She would have been left to herself mid-right towards mid of the right towards liberalism, but having taken this slide from Donald Trump, she also had to take a position on the other, and that helped her in getting elected. And you'll find during the last phase, a socialist candidate coming very close to Hillary, but ultimately Hillary was able to make up. So it was not an easy walkover for Hillary to become the Democratic Party candidate, but it was more in favor of Republican candidate. And that was unheard in the history because the attitude was different, the approach was different, and it was highly polarized. The debate was highly polarized, nasty too. For Hillary, this is a final chance. She missed in 2008. Very closely, she missed in 2008. An unknown Obama became very popular in 1 year or so from 2007, ultimately walked away with presidency for 2 terms straight, and her liberal attitudes towards outsourcing, environment, immigration, race relation, taxes. Now it raised a very interesting debate in American electoral politics, and now it has become very polarized between liberalism and ultra-conservatism. Liberalism consists of a little bit of left ideas too, and Trump attacks Hillary that she will appoint only socialists and communists as judges. And all these kinds of criticism makes the American right-wing conservatism organized. Whether this is going to help him or not, we cannot predict. But this election has become polarized, ugliest campaign heading towards loss of substance in the debate, which Prashant Palakal was mentioned of Samvadam. This kind of debate was unfortunately missing in this election. The great tragedy of this electoral election debate was that it has downgraded the quality which otherwise people sitting in other parts of the world were enjoying the American debate and alleging personal aspects too. Trump had brought that kind of personal attack over Hillary, and issues of moral and other things were raised up, and that too using a very ugly language. And this was one of the dirtiest electoral debate that we had ever witnessed. And another point is that both Democratic and Republican, both foreign policy and domestic politics dominated the election campaign. Earlier tradition was more on domestic politics, but especially on taxes, employment, and economy. But now the debate was also on international aspects, and that was highlighted before the people, because American electorate was shown that with the kind of election that is going to happen, your future is going to be tied up with that. So that is why militarism becomes a popular theme in electoral politics. America's involvement in other countries as a policeman is not criticized by the ordinary people, despite being a very strong democracy. Unfortunately so, because many of the ordinary voters believe so long as it helps to generate employment, it is okay. Employment in the sense that militarism would create more works, more employment, military industrial complex will create more employment opportunities, and that satisfies the American voter aptitude. And that's very unfortunate. That's why I believe that despite their scientific development, a world view, a global view is missing in the American ordinary voter sense. And since it's a land of immigrated people, there has also been conflict among the people. Of course, the WASP, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant on the one side, and the other minorities of different character. One interesting instance, Jews constitute only 2% of the total population, but the economy is controlled by the Jews. They control the military industrial complex. They control the Hollywood. They control the entertainment industry. So they can influence politics. And this is going to be very crucial. Now I will raise few questions and then conclude. One question is, will the elected president would have to witness the decline of U.S. hegemony in the emerging multipolar world? This is one crucial question I would raise. Would the American president have to witness the decline of American hegemony, because multipolarism is coming very much. It is not a very strong manner, but inevitably you have BRICS now, you have G15, G7, and also among the developing nations, India, China, many of the countries are catching up, and China herself is becoming a very important power. How long the American hegemony will last? Is the American president going to agree from a complete decline from unipolarism to multipolarism? What King George Bush, President Bush, declared in 1991 in the wake of the victory of the Gulf War II, that a new liberal policy, neoliberal world will take place. Is it going to be that multipolar politics and the global level is going to happen, and America has to agree with that? If so, the superpower hegemony of American president is going to decline. Is this president elected president is going to witness that? Number one. Number two, approach towards countries like Russia, China, Syria, Palestine, Sudan, Pakistan, Africa, definitely India, crucial. These are going to be very important because the policies are different. U.S.-Russian relations are on the wrong side. A kind of a new Cold War is happening between Russia and United States now. And how it is going to take place for the future, and Russia's ambition to come back to power as a superpower, with Putin again in a very comfortable position. China, of course, I need not have to tell you how China is becoming globally very, very relevant in economic terms, in work employment terms, in strategic terms, and her assertion over South China Sea and definitely over the Indian Ocean. All these are going to be very important, and America will have to balance with many other countries, including India, to face a very powerful China. And issues relating to international terrorism, and that is where you find from Al-Qaeda to ISIS, how much the world has changed. Very sad that whatever the positions America had taken initiative to control international terrorism had bounced back, boomerang, maybe because of the dysfunctional and contradictory role it played in several times of history, and they were not able to control international terrorism, although they were able to eliminate Al-Qaeda, but now most disastrous, monster kind of terrorist forces like ISIS have become powerful, and they have become very powerful in Iraq and Syria, and the Middle East politics, and particularly the politics in Palestine and other parts is becoming very important, Saudi Arabia. And then definitely Pakistan is again going to be very crucial. After the Uri attack, it is heartening to see that American Congress is initiating for criticizing Pakistan, and particularly Pakistan's attitude in promoting global terrorism and for violating human rights. But this need not translate necessarily into action when it comes to the real politics, because of the conventional role that Pakistan played in the American strategic landscape. It was considered at one point of time as one of the soft Islamic state. But Pakistan is no more a soft Islamic state. It has become a terror exporting state. And how America is going, because otherwise America was not getting Muslim states. Now what will you do with the kind of, they have found Osama bin Laden being available in Atomabad, very near Islamabad. And is that America not understanding Pakistan politics? And why Pakistan is being funded again and again? $2.5 billion package came to Pakistan recently from United States a year ago. And are they looking whether these funds are used for developmental activities or for creating Hizbul Mujahideen and Al-Qaeda and other kind of international forces, terrorist forces? And Pakistan, America has no idea once the money is being given to them. So this strategy itself is boomeranging, and it boomeranged over America too. And the kingpin of September 11, Osama bin Laden, was finally searched out from Pakistan and eliminated. But still America is not learning lessons out of that. So this becomes very crucial, and how American president is going to address all these countries. And again, the mineral resource in Africa, where you find a very good competitor from China, and India is also catching up in African continent. And India becoming very important for American foreign policy developments. And more ties with India and Israel are going to be very important. If Trump is going to be the president, no doubt the pro-Jewish policy will be highest, and an anti-Islamist policy will be also highest absolutely no doubt about that, and he has made it clear that his pro-Jewish support is committed and unwavering in every sense. With India, of course, there is a very big debate whether Hillary or Trump is going to be better. Today, I'm sure you're going to listen to Ambassador Srinivasan, who already took a position that Trump would be better for India. From the perspective of Indian economy and development, he will be much more helpful to Indian economy because of his position as regards terrorism control, elimination of terrorism, and elimination of other kinds of narcotic weapons, drugs, etc., and funding that can come. Although ideologically you may find Democratic Party close to India, on many occasions, strategically it was the Republicans that benefited India. That is true. Bush shifted in favor of India. Despite Clinton having there for 8 years, the pro-Indian policies were not very highlighted. And Democratic Party itself has to come up with outsourcing policies, and pressure was on Democratic Party for this matter. So but on outsourcing, Trump still has a pro-Indian policy. So many of these things, Ambassador Srinivasan's article was very interesting, and I'm sure he will highlight this point for afternoon debate. So, so historical ties of Democratic Party now in contrast with the Republican Party, and this is where Indo-American relations are going to be very important. Already Indian-American relations are very positive, no doubt about that. At least during the last 10-15 years, Indo-US relations had blossomed more than at any point of time. I remember when I used to teach American politics, any support American public policy would be even mistaken by some students as being pro-American, and America was considered, at least from the Kerala viewpoint, as highly capitalist, pro-capitalist and pro-corporate in character. So the very word America carried so much of stigma in politics. And one of the experience, I must say that in one of the elections in Kerala, I tried to ask this foreign policy question in 2004 Lok Sabha poll. In Kerala, majority of the voters found America as the #1 enemy and Russia and China as the #1-2 friends. So the Kerala political psychology is very different, and it is not so with the national idea. So the temperament, I think situations are changed. Even in Kerala, there is a appreciating idea that America, you cannot sideline America, and many of the leftist stalwarts have supported some of the American policy positions, and I'm sure that in Kerala, if the poll is conducted, Hillary will win with a massive majority in Kerala. I can predict to that extent. But the personality of the American president matter more in America, more in administration. So that is very important. See, whomsoever comes to office, that personality matter, how you are going to be deciding. That personality is when not only your individual temperament, but to whom you are encircled, who advises you, who constitute your kitchen cabinet, and what kind of temperament you are. So that personality in administration is very crucial, and I must honestly admit, I am very uncomfortable in predicting or analyzing Donald Trump, because Hillary is very clear. Her temperament, her attitude, she is known even before she became a presidential candidate, not just as a wife of President Bill Clinton, but as a health secretary, and also her activism in human rights for a very, very long time. And after Obama became president, she was Secretary of State. So her radar, political radar is very clear, her temperament is very clear, attitudes are very clear. But Donald Trump is very unclear, and I don't know, I cannot say what kind of personal leadership Donald will make, but some positivists say don't matter, it doesn't matter. In any case, there are many advisors who will take care of such a person, such a maverick person. So this is going to be very important. As records say, once the candidates are settled and finalized, Hillary had a very good edge. She even had an edge of 9 to 10 points at one point of time. But as recent polls are going to be neck and neck, and in the final race, the final lap, it is too hypothetical to make any kind of prediction. And elections are also being conditioned and influenced by the multinational corporations and big markets. They can influence the electoral outcome in a significant manner. So American future, the future of America is certainly linked to the outcome. Whomsoever become the president, the future of America is linked to its outcome and who becomes the president of the United States, on assuming office in January 2070. and this will be decided by November 8th, 2016. It's a very crucial, very interesting. Let us keep our options open as to who will become the President of the United States. Very difficult to say how it is going to make the difference with different countries and how it is going to matter across the world. But definitely it matters, being the very important power in world politics. American presidential race is very important to all of us, to students of social sciences, to all of those who support the idea of democracy. This is very important. I'm very happy to be part of this symposium, and I take this opportunity to congratulate the organizers and very happy to declare open this great symposium. Thank you very much.